A chilling shadow sweeps across the cobblestone square. A hushed crowd awaits judgment. Whispers swirl. Will it be cruelty or justice? Today we unveil a ritual so barbaric, even centuries later, France shudders to recall it. The year is 1793. Revolution burns through Paris. The guillotine towers like a grim monolith, dripping fear. Yet one execution rises above all others for sheer brutality, symbolism, and scandal. Strap in. As revolutionaries sought to cleanse France, they crossed lines no sane mind could cross. The victim? A figure both reviled and pitiable, vaulted into infamy on a scaffold. This story is not just history. It's scandal, political theater, unrelenting suspense. We'll inch through each twist, the accusation, the trial, the spectacle, and the aftermath that still echoes. It begins with betrayal. Trusted confidants turn state's witnesses, letters revealing secrets, alliances crumbling. Every revelation ratchets tension higher, like the blade itself. Inside the courtroom, gasps erupt. The defendant stares so calmly it unnerves prosecutors. Spectators sense a performance won, crafted by fear, desperation, and pure theatrics. Outside, commoners jeer, nobles faint, clergy shake in their robes. The square pulses with electricity. France's soul teeters on the edge, a spectacle unlike anything before. We'll meet the key players, the executioner, the judge, the crowd, and our doomed protagonist. Why this case? Because human drama drenched in cruelty draws the eye and the heart. Did the revolution demand this cruelty? Or did tyranny mutate into monstrosity under its mask of justice? That's the question we'll unpack, piece by brutal piece. But before we sweep into darkness, help us tell this story. Drop a comment. Where are you watching from? Like this video, share it widely, and subscribe to Legacy Files to never miss our next deep dive. The courtroom is suffocating, packed shoulder to shoulder. The stench of sweat, fear, and anticipation hangs thick in the air. This isn't a trial, it's theater. And every citizen of France has bought a front row ticket. At the center, Marie Antoinette, former queen, now enemy of the people. Her powdered face is gone, her eyes hollow, her hair hacked short. The revolution has stripped her bare literally and politically. The prosecutors pound her with accusations. Treason, lavish spending, disrespecting the starving people. But then, a bombshell. They accuse her of something unspeakable. Something no one expected. They allege she committed incest with her own son. A gasp erupts, jaws drop. Even the most hardened Jacobin flinches. She does not cry, she does not shout. Instead, she whispers, "I appeal to every mother present." It's not a defense. It's a dagger of emotion. A queen torn apart. Not just by politics, but by motherhood turned into a weapon. The court has no mercy. The evidence? Weak, manufactured, spun from whispers and paranoia. But that's not the point. The trial was never about truth. It was about spectacle, humiliation, vengeance. Each hour the crowd outside swells. Bakers, blacksmiths, beggars all waiting, they want blood. The revolution promised justice. But this feels like hunger, a twisted hunger for a royal reckoning. One juror quietly remarks to another, "Even if she's innocent, her death is necessary." And that's when it hits you. This isn't a trial. It's an exorcism. France is purging its guilt through her. And then the verdict. Guilty. No hesitation. No humanity. The judge barely lifts his eyes as he announces her sentence. Death by guillotine at dawn. Back in her cell, Marie Antoinette receives the news. No tears, just silence. A guard offers her a candle. She spends her last hours writing a letter to her sister-in-law. It will never reach her. She apologizes to her children. She forgives her enemies. And then, like a true royal to the bitter end, she prays, not to be saved, but to leave this world with some dignity. As dawn cracks the sky, the city shifts. Execution day. Children sit on rooftops. Vendors sell hot wine. The scaffold stands ready like a crude altar. The executioner, Charles Henry Sanson, checks his blade. It gleams freshly sharpened. He has done this before, but today feels different. The crowd isn't angry. They're electric. Marie Antoinette mounts the cart. She's dressed in a simple white gown. Her hands are tied behind her back. Her hair, now gray, is covered by a bonnet. People shout, spit, weep. But she doesn't flinch. One man yells, "Murderer!" Another, "Saint." That's the contradiction of revolutions. Saints and sinners are often the same person. As the cart rolls to the Place de la Revolution, the drums beat faster. Boom, boom, boom. Her heart likely mirrors the rhythm, but she doesn't show it. Pride still intact. A woman in the crowd drops to her knees, not in protest but in prayer. For a queen? For France? Even she doesn't know. Her tears blur both reasons. At the scaffold, Marie Antoinette trips. She accidentally steps on the executioner's foot and famously apologizes. "Pardon me, sir. I didn't mean to." That's how the queen meets death. With manners. Her neck is placed under the blade. The drums stop. Silence slices through the crowd. Then thunk the blade drops. The executioner lifts her severed head. The crowd erupts. Some cheer. Others faint. Blood runs down the platform. History has been made ugly, irreversible history. But the story doesn't end here. Her body is thrown in an unmarked grave. Years later, her remains are exhumed, reburied with honors. France changed its mind, but her head never came back. This was more than an execution. It was theater, sacrifice, political pornography, a symbol of rage and fear so raw, it blurred the line between justice and vengeance forever. The blade has fallen. Marie Antoinette's head is gone. But the echoes of that moment, they would haunt France for generations. A queen's blood had been spilled, not just as punishment, but as prophecy. The revolution thought it had won, that with her death, tyranny would die too. But what they killed was more complicated, a symbol, a scapegoat, and perhaps a woman far more misunderstood than monstrous. In taverns, people toasted her death. In quiet homes, people whispered her name with guilt. Even the executioner was said to have trouble sleeping afterward. He saw too many eyes in the crowd that day, watching, regretting. Some claimed strange things happened that night. One said the wind howled louder than usual. Another claimed to see a woman in white walking the riverbank, holding something in her arms. A head, maybe? Or a lie? You see, conspiracies quickly sprouted. Some believed she hadn't died at all, that a body double was used, that the queen had escaped in disguise. Absurd? Maybe, but France had seen crazier things. Rumors spread that a royalist underground had planned to swap her at the last moment, that one of the guards had taken a bribe, that a nun in Austria was in fact Marie Antoinette, living in exile. There's even a theory that her son the Dauphin survived and reunited with her years later under a false identity. It sounds like fiction, but people wanted to believe it, because truth is often colder than myth. What we know for sure is this: her remains years later were buried in the Basilica of Saint Denis, next to her husband. France tried to right the wrong, tried to patch a wound already scarred. Napoleon himself visited her grave once. He reportedly said, "We've killed a queen and crowned chaos." Whether that quote is true or embellished, it captures the sentiment. France had lost its soul chasing its justice. Even centuries later, historians debate her guilt. Was she truly cold-hearted, or just a pawn in a collapsing empire? Letters show a woman afraid, torn, human. Not the villain painted on revolutionary posters. Fashionistas still invoke her name. Let them eat cake, they say. But she never said that. That quote was propaganda designed to dehumanize her. And it worked. Pop culture revived her in films, novels, art. She became a ghost of luxury and tragedy. But beneath the corsets and pearls was a young girl, married at 14, raised in luxury but sentenced in misery. The French Revolution didn't just kill people. It rewrote reputations. It blurred saints and sinners, and the execution of Marie Antoinette became its darkest masterpiece. Here's the real question: was she guilty enough to die, or did she die because France needed someone to blame? Someone to bear the weight of a broken kingdom, starving people, and crushed dreams? And here's the irony: her execution didn't stop the violence. It accelerated it. The reign of terror grew bloodier. More heads rolled. Robespierre, the face of revolution, would meet the same guillotine months later. It was as if the blade became addicted. Once it tasted royalty, it wanted more. Justice turned into habit. Habit turned into frenzy. And France spiraled deeper into madness. The guillotine, once a symbol of fairness, became a monster, one that devoured revolutionaries and royals alike, a tool that promised equality but delivered only grief. Years passed, monarchies rose and fell, empires collapsed, but the tale of Marie Antoinette never left French memory. Her death became a mirror showing what happens when fear replaces reason. She became a ghost in history books, a silhouette on playing cards, a woman whose every mistake, every excess, every breath was judged louder than her humanity ever was. Today, school children still learn her name, but not all the truth. Not the letter she wrote, not the trembling in her voice, not the apology at the scaffold, just the myths and the cake. But now, you know more. You know the full story. The spectacle, the cruelty, the woman behind the wig, and the truth that even kings and queens bleed red. So tell us, do you think justice was served? Or did the revolution become the very monster it tried to slay? Comment below. We want your take. If you were moved by this story, show us some love. Hit like, share this video with someone who loves history, scandal, and untold truth. And most importantly, subscribe to Legacy Files for more. Because next time we uncover another moment history tried to bury, another figure they tried to silence, another truth they told in whispers, not textbooks.